Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend, and listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another edition of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk, KEYS, 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I am your host, James Espinosa, joined, of course, this morning by co-host Alex Weister.
Shout out to my parents just because they're awesome people.
There we go. Well, that's a good reason to shout them out, I'd say. That's awesome. So Mr. and Mrs. Weister, shouts from
Correct.
the Sports Rush and shouts from your son, Alex. We got Aiden Ducker back there producing and co-hosting.
What's Gucci with it?
And this morning, we're joined by Crossroads Clinical Research's own, our good friend of the show, Jerry Plemons. Good morning, Jerry. Good to have you in studio.
Thank you. Good morning, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we need to turn up Jerry's mic because Jerry's not using 4. I think Jerry is using... Try it again, Jerry.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
We are still efforting Jerry's mic, but Jerry is here, if you can hear him in the background. 361-882-5397 as Aiden's going to come in here and try and rectify this situation. We're with you this morning. Go ahead, Jerry.
I've been told I'm pointing at the top so that they can get a good
There he is.
level on me.
There's Jerry. Jerry's here. Jerry is in the house. So good morning once again, Jerry.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Good to have you in studio. Today, we have an absolutely packed show. I know I preface this all the time, and I hype up every show because as a host, you got to hype up the show, right? We got to keep the listeners engaged. We got to keep you guys by that dial. But today, it's a big show because coming up at 10 a.m., we have Sinton head baseball coach, the legend himself, Adrian Alaniz. He will be joining us via the 1440 Keys phone line. We're going to talk to him about his team's recent 4A state championship, one of the most dominating championships in recent memory here in the Coastal Bend. So at 10 a.m., we'll be talking to Coach Alaniz. Make sure you stick by that dial. He will be on with us in an hour. But we do have a topic of the day for the listeners before we dive into our first segment. The topic of the day, in honor of Sinton's dominating 4A state championship where they beat 2 teams at the state semifinals and finals by a combined score of 18-0, 36-1 season. We want to know what are the most dominating championship performances in history. It could be team performances, individual performances. What are the most dominating championship performances? 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. We'll get to your reactions here after segment 1. But right now, let's go ahead and talk about it because Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend is the home of champions.
Indeed it is.
2 state champions came home this Texas high school baseball season.
Both of them are also Pirates.
Yeah, the year of the Pirate. The year of the Pirate indeed. Let's go ahead and let's start with the most recent game, London. The London Pirates took home the 3A state championship with a 16-13 victory over Brock yesterday morning up in Round Rock, and what can only be described as one of the craziest games ever.
That game was wild.
London went down 4-0 in the first inning, and then at one point they were trailing 9-4, and they still came back and found a way to win this game. Now, we were following this game on Twitter all morning yesterday. I guess I was being cheap. I didn't dish out the $10+ to watch the game. I've said, you know what? I'll follow Len Hayward. I'll follow K-Triple-I and Chris Thomason. I'll follow Chris Six.
Yeah, shouts to all 3 of those news outlets.
For sure.
They were posting video highlights, everything.
On the money.
Up to the minute, play-by-play. So I was following along. And man, for a while, I thought London was going to sell. And when I mean sell, I thought they were going to blow it. And it looked like it was close. But the Pirates prevailed, and it is their first state championship ever for the London program. Around the table real quickly, Alex Weister, your thoughts on the London Pirates bringing home the championship?
I know I definitely voiced my concerns a couple of times about the team because going into the playoffs, they were on a 5-game losing streak. And in those games, one of them was against a team they beat in the playoffs, and then they had a 2-gamer to end the season against another team they beat in the playoffs in Bishop. And just throughout the playoffs, they showed that they can compete. They had a close game against Odom. they dominated Santa Gertrudis Academy, who they lost to 7-2
Well,
earlier
remember
in
that
the
first
season.
remember that first game against Santa Gertrudis? It went to like 13 or 14
It was
innings.
12,
Or 12, yeah.
But the second game was 17-5. They just completely blew the doors off of that game.
London was battle tested, and
They were.
yeah.
I mean, yes, if we remember last year, they blew the championship game via a walk-off hit by pitch.
Yeah, all sorts of things went wrong. You had a couple walks, a few hit by pitches, a couple errors and whatnot. And it's great just to see a redemption story like this. The a la 2014 Spurs, just think of the teams that, that you saw lose a heartbreaking championship, come back the very next year. It's a hard road, and you're not guaranteed to be back at that spot.
No, you're
not.
not.
And they prevailed through all the odds, through all the adversity, through all the good teams they faced. There was Odom, Santa Gertrudis, Bishop, Brock, and even Gunter was really good in the semifinal they faced. Gunter only had one loss entering that game.
They went through a
And they
tough
prevailed.
road. They went through a tough road, and they didn't even win the district championship.
No, because they lost to Bishop.
Yeah, with that 5-game losing streak at the end of the season, they did not win the district title. So they came into the playoffs as the second-place team in their 3A district down here in the Coastal Bend, and still went on to run the table.
Yeah. And to kick off that 5-game losing streak they had, they actually faced Sinton. So they got to kind of test themselves there, as of course Sinton went on to win states as well. So they got to play another state champion in the regular season. It was a close game. It was 4-2.
Yeah.
Yesterday for the London Pirates, Blake Waters, he was named MVP of the state championship game. He was 2 for 2 with 5 RBIs at the plate and also earned the pitching victory. He threw a scoreless 7th inning for the London Pirates, which sealed the deal and sealed their first ever championship in Texas high school baseball, their first ever state title in the program's history for all sports. Now, we do have Blake Waters' audio, the young man who did so great for the London Pirates. This is audio of Blake Waters on the mindset of London entering the 7th inning. I believe they entered the 7th inning only up 3, 16-13, and a chance to close it out. So here's the MVP, Blake Waters.
His mindset is trying to pound the zone. Let my defense work. It worked out really well. I got behind a lot of the counts. I think every batter I got behind in the count, but just came back, make some good pitches, got a little pop fly, ground balls, and then strike out the end of the game. Can't ask for much more than that.
You can't ask for much more than that, and it ends in the state championship. We also have co-head coach Albert Amaya on the mindset of the team after going down early 4-0 and 9-4 to come back and win the game.
Usually we're trying to play for 1 run an inning. And I just told our guys, to have some good at-bats, run their pitch counts up a little bit, and just stay with the plan and just see what happens. We knew that we had, 18 more outs to go. So, our guys just stayed with the plan, and they believed in themselves. They didn't give up. That's kind of like our whole season, to be honest with you. It was up and down all year, and that's the way this game was. The guys stuck with it all season, and they stuck with it today. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. And last year I was telling these guys, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Now I'm just telling them, thank you. Just thank God for these kids and for this opportunity, and we made the most of it. I'm just so proud of these guys.
Isn't that awesome to hear, Jerry?
Yeah.
It is.
Watch out for this London program. A few years ago, they were a sleepy 1A school, and now they're developing to a sports powerhouse. I think in football and other sports.
Yeah,
They're going to be really good.
Started, like Jerry just said, started at 1A not even a decade ago.
Yeah.
And now that area out there in Corpus Christi is growing and growing and growing. I won't be surprised if one day they're a 4A. I won't be surprised if one day they're eventually a 5A team competing with the Corpus Christi Rays, Millers, Moody's, etc.
And holding their own.
Yeah, exactly. They're just a program on the rise. And like Coach Amaya said, after coming back from heartache last year to win it this year, the ultimate redemption story. Hopefully, maybe next week we could get Coach Amaya on the Sports Rush to get his thoughts and give London their flowers because they deserve it.
And here's the thing, and there's no guarantees they'll be back in this position next year. They got to earn it just like every other team. But this is a team that's mostly made up of sophomores, so they still got 2 more years of this core nucleus that they have.
Doug and I got to call one of their playoff games against Edinburgh Idea, and
we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that game.
We don't talk about that
They
game.
absolutely blew the doors off them, but I got to see them up close and personal, and there's talent up and down that lineup. So congrats to the London Pirates for doing the thing. 3A state champions. Big claps for London. Big claps. All right, let's move on to our second state champion
Oh, boy.
And this one is one of the most dominating performances I have ever witnessed as a sports fan, as someone who has lived in this area for all my life. The Sinton Pirates claim their third state championship in their program's history, their first since 2002. They routed Argyle in the championship game 9-0. Absolute, complete domination. They beat Salina in the state semifinal 9-0. So both of their games at state up in Austin, a combined score of 18-0. I don't think I've ever seen a team absolutely run state the way Sinton ran state.
And you know what's funny is that in both games they kind of started off a bit shaky. I believe both Salina and Argyle, each in the first inning, each got 2 runners on. And that could have, been bad for Sinton, but Sinton is able to get out of those jams early.
Yeah.
And from there on, a lot of clutch hitting, a lot of small ball here and there, and they're just an overall very solid, just a all around great performance.
They didn't drop any home runs, like Aiden mentioned.
Nope.
They put pressure on Argyle, bases loaded. They were very disciplined at the plate. They were drawing walks. They were getting clutch, timely hitting. And Caden McCoy was named the MVP for the Sinton Pirates. We actually have some Caden McCoy audio. By the way, all this audio that we played for London and for Sinton, courtesy of Len Hayward and the Caller Time. So here's the MVP for Sinton, Caden McCoy.
Well, first question is, you're a little surprised you got MVP?
A little bit, not gonna lie.
Well, how does it feel?
It feels really good. It feels really good, and it feels even better to be state champs. It really feels great.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it does, young man. It's so amazing hearing these young kids, right? It's
yeah.
like, man, these guys are so young, and to be on a big stage like that and capture the title, it's absolutely amazing. Some more Sinton notes here, because they were so dominant. This one absolutely blew my mind, okay? Since Sinton's lone loss to Tolosa Midway back on March 5th in pre-district tournament play, the Pirates ended the season on a 31-game winning streak. They outscored their opponents in the playoffs. They played 10 total games in the playoffs. They outscored their opponents by a combined score of 102-11.
Yeah.
I mean, in the playoffs, 102-11.
It was just complete and utter domination the entire season, and there was truly never a doubt in my mind that this team was going to win states.
Yeah, Sinton definitely dominated, but they had to earn it. They had to get that pitcher's duel win against Cal, where they made it interesting in the ninth, so they still had to earn a tough, hard championship.
They had a close game against Cal Allen,
and that was basically it.
Which we went to for the region final, and then I think in round 2, Wimberley gave them a good game where they won 9-8. And those were the closest games they had.
But that was a 3-game series, I believe, though, right?
Yes, it was. It was a 3-gamer.
Just watching Sinton that day, you could tell they're the most solid defensive fielding team that's out there. And
so
for sure.
And that was the difference in the Callan game. Where Callan had a couple of errors in the outfield. Sinton was just solid everywhere, and they're a unit, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are in contention next year.
We will talk to Coach Adrian Alaniz at 10 a.m., so make sure you stick around for that.
Want to play the Blake Mitchell audio real quick?
Yeah, we have Blake Mitchell, the stalwart pitcher, do-it-all for Sinton. He's a commit to LSU, and we saw Blake Mitchell firsthand a couple of weeks back
Just
in the region
impressive.
final. Here's Blake Mitchell talking about they did it all for the seniors.
Just all the seniors, That's the reason I did it this season, was for those seniors, I've been with them all 3 years this year. We just accomplished a big goal.
So there we go. When you do it for the seniors, when you have the pride like that, and it's not just, hey, this is a shot in the pan. This is a Sinton program that is renowned statewide. Now, with their 36-1 record, with the fact that they blew out the state tournament 18-0 combined score in 2 games, they joined some of the greatest teams in Coastal Bend history, and some of the ones that I have on the top of my head are 2004 Moody, who went 42-1, and they won a state championship, and 2008 Cal Allen, who also went 42-1, state champion. They're up in that higher echelon of teams, and it's well-deserved. And Coach Alaniz, who we'll speak to at 10 a.m., he won a state title with Sinton in 2002 as a pitcher, won a College World Series with the Texas Longhorns in 2005, and now going back to his hometown, head coach of the state champion Sinton Pirates. Talk about a legend.
He's just a baseball savant at this point.